Hey there, everyone. I wanted to do this video today because yesterday being the 4th of July and all the stuff that happened yesterday, it got me to thinking a day that is supposed to be, celebrating being an American and being able to live in the country that we live in and how lucky we all are. Seeing the stuff that unfolded yesterday just made me ask the question, how did we get here? How did we get to this point where this stuff is acceptable? And, with this stuff that happened, my heart and my prayers go out to these family members, the police that were shot in Philadelphia. All of it's just very frustrating on a day we should be celebrating this stuff, that this stuff happens. And it makes me wonder about, I guarantee you we're going to be hearing the gun control arguments nonstop from now on. But there are root causes that always get ignored, and that's what is really frustrating to me. No gun laws. First of all, they've got gun laws that are already on the books that they're ignoring. So the only thing they're doing by passing more gun legislation and doing this stuff is appeasing people or acting like they're doing something, because I guarantee you these politicians don't care. Honestly, if they had to honestly ask themselves, they don't care that this stuff's happening. This stuff happening actually works in their favor because they're able to push more of this stuff. We've seen there are a bunch of gun laws that have already been passed. You see this stuff in the inner cities. So all of this rhetoric and everything isn't going to do anything to solve this problem that we seem to have here in the United States. But the frustrating part about all of this stuff is nobody's willing to look at the hard issues, the hard solutions. All they want to do is to appease people with the gun laws and everything. So, in my opinion, have the gun debate if you want. It's never going to solve that problem, though, unless guns are completely outright banned, which is not going to happen. And I don't think this is a good time for that to happen. At any rate, if you look at everything that's going on right now, that's not going to happen. So, have that debate if you want. I'm always going to side on the side of the Second Amendment. That's just me, and other people can have their opinions as well. But that's not going to solve these situations, these school shootings, these soft targets, the parades, all of that stuff. So what is it? This all got me thinking yesterday. What is it that got us to this point? What is it that changed in the United States in the last 50, 60, 70 years or so, where stuff like this never used to happen? And now stuff like this is happening. And what are some of the things that these people could look at to try to actually address these problems rather than just appeasing people and putting some, a few gun laws through and extend some background checks and change the legal age and all that stuff that, may be a deterrence for some of these things. But until you start enforcing some of these laws and doing this stuff, it's still going to continue to happen. So at any rate, I was thinking about a few things this week about, why we are in this situation in this country. And the first thing I think about is people talk about how this doesn't happen in other countries and all of that. It doesn't happen like it does here in this country, which, you look at the stats and that's true. But the stats, we're a much larger country than just about everybody out there. So the bigger you get, the more opportunities there's going to be for things like this to happen. And also kind of along those same lines, you've got people just pitted against each other. You've got these politicians, you've got the media that has got everybody at fever pitch and we're at each other's throats, and everybody feels justified in their ideals. And a lot of these shooters feel like this is their only hope. This is the only thing they can do. So that is our society these days. It's that victimhood mentality. Back in the day, it used to be sticks and stones may break your bones, but names will never hurt you. That doesn't exist anymore. Everybody's outraged. Everybody feels like they can do what it's justified doing what they do. And I'm not talking about one specific shooting, one specific event, one specific person or anything like that. The situation is so convoluted, you can't, narrow it down to one thing or another. But if you start working on the stuff that actually matters, maybe you can address this stuff. The dehumanization of people these days. You've got the movies, you've got the video games, you've got the media, all of this stuff, social media, where people don't think like they used to think 50, 60 years ago, where it was neighborhood, where there was family values. All of this stuff mattered. And things like the things that are happening, these mass shootings, were never even thought about. These days, they are thought about. And then when you add in the fact that the mainstream media decides to amplify these situations, and then you get the copycats, and then it is this spiraling thing that just gets out of control. And another huge factor with all of this stuff is the soft on crime policies. The fact that they can put all these laws through, they can do all of this stuff, but when these criminals get put back out on the street, when it's basically a slap on the wrist whenever they do anything, sort of along these lines, it's a slap on the wrist, and they get put back into society to do the same thing again. And conspiracy theories aside, I think there's a lot of that it's intentional. A lot of the time, it's intentional that this stuff happens, because the more this stuff happens, the more they can have this conversation, the more they can whittle away at the Second Amendment. So there is no incentive for them. They can talk about it while the cameras are rolling, and talk about how they need to stop this stuff, and we need to get things figured out. But there really isn't an incentive for them to stop that stuff, because when this stuff happens, when these, any violent crime, not just the mass shootings, when this stuff happens, they have talking points. Same thing as with the southern border. They don't want to control the southern border, because when it's an issue, it's a talking point for both sides. So I think it's something that, on the surface and in front of the cameras, they may say it really concerns them, but we all know how much government values human life. If you look at the things that even this country's done, and then you go even past what this country's done throughout history, governments do what it takes. So again, I'm not going to go down that conspiracy theory rabbit hole a whole lot, but there's a lot of this that just makes you scratch your head and go, okay, if these things work, then why is it that you're so soft on one side and then so hard on the other side? The laws that get put in place they affect law-abiding gun owners far more than they would affect anybody with illegal firearms, or anybody that criminals, basically. So I think there are a lot of issues on this type of subject. And, after the school shooting a little while back, there was talk of hardening the targets and doing this and doing that, the things that would actually solve some of those problems. But that all went away very quickly, and it turned into a gun debate. And that's where people want to go, is the easy answer. That low-hanging fruit is ban all guns. But that's not the solution. It's not going to be the solution. So instead of looking at that, try to figure out what we can do for this solution, how we can deter some of these absolute psychotic people from doing the things that they do. And I think the punishment is one of those things that they need to actually enforce the laws that are already on the books, and then we'll have a conversation about having laws down the line. At any rate, I'd love to get your guys' comments on this. It's just something real quick I just wanted to talk about, because it's something yesterday should have been a great day. It should have been a day that all you think about is how proud you are to be an American, and that is something that has gone away as well in the last decade or two, is that patriotism, the fact that being an American is, regardless of our warts, our faults, and all that stuff, it's still the greatest country in the world. But for some reason, it seems like, some people just don't believe that, while the other side, if you have a flag hanging on your house, or you have a flag, you're driving your car with a flag on it, you're seen as one of those people. And if it's where we are these days as a society, pitted against each other, and it's unfortunate. But there are solutions to be had to some of this stuff, I think. But people need to start talking about it. I mean, if they don't, it's going to be the same story over and over and over again until the Second Amendment just gets completely whittled away. And, we're looking back going, how did this happen? And I think that's intentional, honestly. At any rate, if you have any comments, any ideas and thoughts on this subject, let me know in the comment section below. We'll talk to you all later.